Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos. The Ministry of Transportation is reporting multiple closures tonight, including Highway 17 from Ignace to Uppsala, which was shut down just after 7 p.m. tonight due to a collision. The MTO is also reporting several closures due to washouts, including Highway 502 between Fort Frances and Dryden. Two highways in the Rainy River area also closed due to washouts, including Highways 619 and 611. There's no word at the moment when these highways will reopen. In other news, the province is lending a financial hand for a major shakeup in the forestry sector in Kenora, which will see one of the city's sawmills find a new home in the community. Green First Forest Products, which owns the former Kenora Forest Products Mill, is receiving over $17 million from Ontario in the form of a performance-based loan to relocate, improve, and expand the sawmill. The move will allow the facility to change its layout and bring its operations into the 21st century, creating up to 85 new jobs and potentially creating 135 indirect jobs. The company spokesperson says the land the mill currently sits on is worth more as a well-planned development and not as a sawmill. There's no timeline for the relocation nor for the repayment of the loan. Classes from both PSW and nursing at the Seven Generations Education Institute in Fort Frances have been at maximum capacity, leaving would-be students waiting another year before they can begin their education. However, help is on the way following an announcement of $13 million by the province this past week. Adam Riley has the details.
But my passion was to work in Indigenous communities in the far north. And so I moved to Sioux Lookout. I had my diploma in nursing, and off I went.
At just 21 years of age, Greg Rickford was focused on bringing the best health care he could as a nurse to residents in the far north. Flash forward to today, Rickford is doing the same thing now in his capacity as the MPP for Kenora Rainy River and as Ontario's Minister of Indigenous Affairs, specifically through Indigenous-led education, which is why on Wednesday he announced $12.9 million in funding, which will go towards expanding the Seven Generations Education Institute's capacity to teach in the fields of nursing and personal support work, with $2 million dedicated to this year and growing to over $5 million by year 3. CEO Brent Tukane says this money could lead to hundreds of new graduates entering the field.
We have 3 campuses to look out, Fort Frances and Kenora, and to be 12 at each of those programs, so another 36 total each year in say nursing and then PSW as well. So, you know, we're looking at a significant number of people, you know, hopefully if everybody is successful in the programming.
Tukane adds this funding will also remove a massive barrier for students seeking higher education, and that is the financial component. Rickford says one of the benefits of having Seven Generations and other Indigenous education institutes involved in this training surge is the language component, something he had to learn while performing his duties as a nurse.
The ability to have Indigenous and non-Indigenous students trained at least in the basics, and some of them as their first language, will only enhance the quality of the health care that Indigenous people receive here.
As the funding is not dedicated to physical expansion of the classrooms themselves, Seven Generations will be increasing the number of available classes and hiring the appropriate staff. Adam Riley, TBT News.
It's now been 1 month since masking requirements in most indoor settings were lifted in Ontario. Former Federal Health Minister Patty Hajdu is at Superior Collegiate for a presentation this past week where we asked Hajdu and some of the students about how that big change has gone so far, with masks no longer being required in schools.
It's just so great to see them back in real life. We did a lot of Zoom school presentations in the last 2 years, but there's nothing like a live audience, and there's nothing like that making actual direct eye contact with people while you're speaking. It's a game changer.
Local MP Patty Hajdu did wear a mask before and after her presentation at Superior Collegiate due to her recent exposure to COVID. But since then, she's tested negative multiple times. Hajdu says she was happy to see students' faces once again, but stressed the fact that students staying home due to COVID has been a growing problem, as she says North America currently has the worst record for school absences due to COVID reasons.
The reality is we're not out of this yet. You know, we need to reach for the tools that will keep us safe, and we need to evolve with the evidence. And clearly these students were happy to be back in school, happy to be interacting with each other, and let's just hope that everybody can stay home when they're not well, and we do our best to protect each other.
As for the students, during the presentation, it was split 50-50 as far as those who chose to wear a mask and for those who didn't. But walking the halls, the numbers seem to have swayed more in favor of no masks. With most students not even knowing truly what their peers looked like, we asked them how it felt 1 month after the mask mandate in schools was dropped.
For those who are wearing masks, it's a personal choice, but I think it's nice to see the faces, and it's also, we understand those who are choosing to continue wearing a mask.
I was really excited. It's been 2 years, and now we got our masks off. I made friends in the past 2 years who I didn't even know how they looked like. So it's like, oh, I didn't even recognize them when we came back. I think we're starting to open up again, which is nice, but it feels weird.
There have been some health experts pushing to have the mask mandate reinstated with the arrival of the 6th wave, but for now, masks will continue to stay as just an option. The Thunder Bay Parking Authority continues to move into the future. A mobile parking app was announced earlier this week, and local drivers can soon expect to see more multi-space parking units as well. The automated units allow for either card or coin payment for parking and eliminate the need for multiple machines in a single stretch. Rather than having a time displayed on the machine itself, the multi-space units print drivers a ticket that can be displayed on their dashboard. But this doesn't mean coin-operated machines are a thing of the past. The move toward the newer technology will be gradual and only in highly used parking areas. Jonathan Pask is the city's parking authority supervisor, and he spoke about the plans going forward.
That's a possibility in the future. It makes sense in the busier parking areas. Some of the less busy parking areas, likely it wouldn't make sense, so it would probably remain with just the single space.
At this point, Thunder Bay has multi-use machines across the city, which the strongest focus being in the North Core that currently has 8. The 13th Craft Revival at the Waterfront District was a huge success as thousands of residents came by throughout the day to browse the different tables and enjoy the live performances by local artists. Jessica Clement has more.
The North Core is buzzing with activity on Sunday as shoppers browse the different goods available in the 16 different locations around the Waterfront District. There was a lot of variety for shoppers to choose from as 180 artisans were involved in this year's Spring Craft Revival. Residents were also able to enjoy the live music and performances that were located in different venues around the downtown area. Event founder Malin Hurley says that the event has been a huge success and that the streets feel more relaxed compared to the last event they hosted.
It's the first event that actually feels a bit normal. Just being able to see people again, seeing people's faces. It's nice that the weather held up for us as well too. So lots of people walking around.
Artisans and performers were able to showcase their talents and passions through this event. We spoke to Lori Walsh, owner of Sibley Stoneworks and Arts, and local drag performers Ivan Love and Ms. Mary Poppins, and they all agreed that events like this are very important for small local businesses.
I think it's sort of our chance to show what we have. There's a lot of amazing artists and builders in the community, so it's our chance to show people in the city what we have to offer here.
There's so many professional and talented people in Thunder Bay that you just don't notice without events like this. And in Thunder Bay, the word team seems to travel by mouth a lot. So without these events, I don't know, everybody would still be in their basements doing their thing, and we'd not be aware of all these treasures we have in this area.
The event was a great way to kick off the spring season after a long winter, and we spoke to a couple shoppers who were excited that things were starting to go back to normal.
It feels so nice to be out in public and seeing other seeing people's faces. That's really nice. I think we've had such a long, hard, cold winter amongst COVID, so I think seeing people out in the world, in spring coats with smiles on their faces in the streets is oh yeah, okay, spring's coming.
The Craft Revival will continue online from April 25th to May 1st, and to get more information, residents can go to their website and social media pages. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Now joined by sports anchor Kurt Black. Now curling, everyone loves curling here in Thunder Bay, and an awesome event as a championship made its way in.
Yeah, and a man no stranger to bringing some silverware back to Thunder Bay, Al Hackner. He was in the final, looking to add another trophy to that very jammed trophy cabinet of his. We'll have the highlights right after the break.